can I have another wine?
You're listening to the Giggle Gang podcast.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
If you want it, just come get it.
A Giggle Gang podcast.
Just myself, just be myself.
For fuck's sake.
You know, sometimes people pay me to say ridiculous shit, and sometimes I just say it for free.
Jesus Christ.
You're listening to the Giggle Gang podcast.
We have integrated. We are one. We do belong. We belong here as much as anyone else. And Irish people go, oh, you're practically English. I go, I am fucking not. Don't call me English. I'm not English. I won't integrate. I'm an Irishman. Fucking.
You're the one person that doesn't want to be accepted into British society.
Every other country is going, no, we totally belong here. I'm like, don't fucking mistake me for one of them.
Yeah.
Even though I look like I'm one of them, I walk around, I live here. Don't fucking call me weird.
How's your life been post-Brexit?
Oh, it's been a tortuous 2 days. I want to say 3 days. Let's say 3 days.
Have you noticed anything different just in the air?
No, I think it's totally died off.
Yeah.
I was in Hull Brexit night.
Okay.
And Hull was
Pumping.
like, well, at the time it was super leave. So I kind of thought I'd arrive and people would be out in the streets celebrating.
So when they did the vote,
they were like super leave.
Okay.
And it's the only town I've ever gigged in where, because I don't do political stuff,
okay,
but I do chat to the audience and I do ad-lib quite a bit.
Okay.
And stuff like that. It's the only place I've ever been where I made a Brexit joke that wasn't part of my set, but I just made an spontaneous thing about Brexit. And normally you do that in Manchester or anywhere else, people are like, oh yeah, Brexit. Hull was the only place I've ever been where I made a Brexit joke and everyone went, yeah, what about it? Brexit's great. I don't know what you're talking about, man. I love Brexit. Go Brexit. But when I did Hull Brexit night, Dominic Woodward, who was emceeing, started. I thought this was quite a bold move, but maybe I'm just a wussier comedian than others.
Dominic Woodward is a maverick.
Yeah, like he opened the show with like, give me a cheer if you vote at Leave, give me a cheer if you vote at Remain. I was like, oh wow.
He stole that from me. I actually did that at a gig when I was hosting that he was headlining, right? Yeah. I did the exact same thing, and there was more, this was in Manchester, there was more Leavers than there was Remainers, and I was like, did you vote Tory as well? And they were like, yeah, we all vote Tory. It was hilarious, and like Hazel was out, her blood was boiling. I was like, I can't believe I'm in a room with so many bloody leaving Tories.
Yeah, but this is because we all live in such a bubble that like, it's crazy. And I get this, like, I don't know many Australians, right?
Okay.
But
am I one of the only ones you know?
I know a handful.
Okay.
I know a handful. A lot of them are comedians.
Okay.
But I know a couple of other Australians. I used to go with an Australian girl. I think I mentioned that the last time I was on this podcast.
Yeah. One rule on this podcast now, try to limit you talking about comedy, and you can't rehash any stories you've done before.
Well, I will not rehash anything. The downside of that is I don't remember really what.
Neither do I.
So I don't. We could just do the same.
All we did was make fun of Perth, I remember.
Yeah, but that's because she was from Perth. That's why I remember it. It's because you called it like Perth can go fuck itself or something. That's all I remember. It was like, I'm in town with this lovely girl from Perth, and then just switched and just went, fuck Perth, what a shithole. I hate it. Sorry, the one bit I'm going to rehash is my hatred of Perth for some reason.
Fuck Perth.
Fuck Perth.
It's the only part of Australia I want to be on fire.
Now, he said that, people, ladies and gentlemen of the world. But that's the thing, especially with the fires and everything.
Yeah.
Like, everyone, as far as I can tell, in Australia, thinks Scott Morrison, is that his name?
Yeah.
Better make sure I got that right.
Yeah.
Is the biggest dickhead that's ever lived. Like, he seems to be absolute public enemy number one. What a prick. And then you kind of go, oh, they're so unfortunate that they've ended up with him as leader.
Yeah.
They go, wait a second. Chances are at least 51% of people have probably voted for him.
Yeah.
I don't know what your political system is.
Well, when he came into power, he was quite popular.
That's how it goes, isn't it?
He was definitely miles more popular than the alternative. It was like, who was the alternative to Boris? Jeremy Corbyn, right?
Jeremy Corbyn.
It was a similar situation where people were voting for Scott Morrison out of fear of the Labour leader Bill Shorten getting into power. So
They said he gets into power, the whole country's going to burn to the ground.
yeah, absolutely.
And turned out they picked the wrong horse for that.
Absolutely. But it's just been the way that Scott Morrison has handled things. And again, people that don't understand politics can't quite get their head around why he's made decisions that he has made. But again, you are constantly at the mercy of public opinion when you work in politics. So you need to do what the people want. You don't need to do what the political move is or what people have done before you. He's taken some bad advice. The people that are giving him advice on behaviour.
So you quite like him.
I've never been in the country when he's been the leader. So
okay.
It's not that I quite like him. I wouldn't vote for him, but I wouldn't vote for the other guy either. I'd pick a splinter party.
Ireland's having a general election right now.
Oh,
and
really?
I have no idea how... I'm glad I'm not in the country. Because it's so bad because I believe that you should vote. So I know that if I was in the country, I would vote.
Yeah.
But I really don't know who I'd vote for. It's like, I hate...
Well, why
all
do
of them.
Ireland have a president? Because I saw him get trotted out at the rugby yesterday. The rugby was in Dublin yesterday, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Right, Ireland against Scotland at Croke Park.
Yeah, well done.
So, the Irish president comes out. A very old, frail man.
Yeah.
What is the point of the Irish president?
Michael D. Higgins. We love him. He's super popular.
But he doesn't do anything, does he?
What? No, he's an elected queen.
Okay.
That's what he is. Okay. He's the elected head of state.
Okay.
And his whole thing, and just like the Queen, he technically has powers, but he has powers that, like, you don't use any of those powers. You know, though, the Queen is actually really powerful.
Right.
Like
what, though? Give me some examples.
The Queen can declare war.
On who? Anyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
She still has the power to declare war.
Okay.
So she could go, we're going to war on Australia.
Okay.
And then it will be at that point, that would be an official declaration of war of the state. And then at that point, people would turn around and go, actually, monarchy's over now. You had one last good run at it. I'll tell you what, we'll even bomb Australia just for a laugh. But you pushed it. You pushed it.
Draw a line in the sand of the crisp burnt beaches.
But the Irish president, technically the Irish president has to sign every law. So theoretically... our government could come together and unanimously pass a piece of legislation.
What's his name, sorry?
Michael D. Higgins.
Michael D. Higgins.
Yeah.
Okay, and how long has he been the Irish president for?
He's been the Irish president. So it's a 7-year term, and he won his second term. Yeah, you can only do 2, but he won his second term
so he can
2
do 14 years.
So you do 14 years, yeah.
Wow.
But it's not like... Because again, our elections are like a...
Before that, was he in politics?
He was an Irish MP.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was the Labour, and he's very quite left, but nice left.
Okay.
Like, people liked him, and we're not a particularly left-wing country.
Okay.
But he was a popular. He was a very popular guy, and he's very soft-spoken, and he's very nice. But he did once tell a reporter to fuck off, but we loved that. We loved that, It was like, because he's so nice.
Yeah.
So, so you didn't even have to listen to the interview. Michael D. Higgins has just told some reporter to fuck off. And the whole country went, what did they do?
Yeah.
Fuck that reporter. That reporter can shove it up their arse.
Their journalism career just went,
yeah. I think it was some American reporter, which we liked even more.
That's even better, yeah.
It was just like,
because if the one thing the Irish hate more than each other, it's Americans.
Yeah, well, it's Brits, to be honest.
My God.
I don't hate Americans. I love Americans.
How much do you know about the history of Ireland?
This is awkward. I don't want to be quizzed, but I do have a bit of a degree in history.
Okay.
So technically...
So Irish history, though, or...?
Well, no, I did my master's in history here, but I did it on a thing in Ireland, like my thesis.
Okay.
So basically, I know... way less than I should.
Okay.
That's the actual answer to that question. Way less than I should. Because you know something? This is a very unpopular thing to say. And it's not because I'm super smart that I can say this. Degrees are easy to get.
Okay.
They're easy to get.
Yeah.
They're hard to do really well in.
Yeah.
But they're not
Easy
hard to pass.
Yeah, I get
If you just do it and you can just
You
plow
just need to attend.
You attend, you use the study week. You always attend the last lecture because that's when the lecturer is most likely to tell you what's coming up in the exam.
Yeah.
To spite the people who haven't even been bothered to come to the last lecture.
Yeah.
And it's actually fine.
Yeah.
It's hard to get the final 5% to do well, but it's easy to get the first 40% to pass.
Yeah.
So, like, I have 2 master's degrees, and I'm not that smart. Like, I'm fine. I have a master's in sociology and history.
Oh my god. 2 of the most useless degrees.
Oh, I know, yeah. History.
So
I went back to do history as the good one.
Why do them though? And while you're doing them, is everyone telling you not to do it?
Oh, you don't have to start them for people to start telling you not to do them. That comes way before. You've jumped to the middle there, like really early on. I have a feeling somebody sat me down when I was 14 when I first decided, something, I definitely am going to go to university. That's something I want to do.
Okay.
And somebody put their arm around me and went, now, Kieran, what you want to be doing is not history and sociology. Like, they knew. I feel like they also knew I wasn't going to be an engineer.
What are the jobs that you can get from those degrees, though?
I could have taught other people those subjects.
Okay.
And I could have got an office job that's unrelated to those 2 subjects.
Okay.
I went for the office job that has nothing to do with those 2 subjects. Somehow I managed to spin a master's in sociology and history into, yes, and that does mean I can work an Excel spreadsheet. And they believed me. They believed me. I didn't even know how to do a basic formula at that stage. When I had that interview, right? Didn't know what a pivot table was. No now, but
I don't even know what it is.
It's an Excel spreadsheet thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's stop talking about Excel spreadsheets and let's start talking about Irish history.
Okay.
Right? Because I am interested. Because I remember being in the main drag in Dublin, whatever that is, and there's a big government building. I think it was the post office or something, and there's still bits of shells or bits of stone that have been taken out from bullets and bombs that were going down that main street. And I went to a museum, and there was different parts of the city, and they were showing these different cells of where different areas were trying to be fought, and there was they were on this side, they were on this side, and there was people living in between. Is this true? Am I making this up?
No, you're smashing this. You don't need me here.
No, I do, because
you could just be a nice lecturer in Irish history.
I want to be educated, and I want the people listening to be educated, because I think the conflict in Ireland, there's a lot of conflicting stories, and I think when you speak to, let's call them Irish people.
Let's call in inverted commas.
Yeah,
let's call them Irish people.
But sometimes when you ask them about this, they pick a side. They have an emotional attachment to it. It's either the bastards did this or the bastards did that. It depends on what side of the equation they fall on. But you, unbeknownst to me, are now the perfect person to give us the unbiased.
What makes you think I'm not biased?
You can be biased, but
horribly.
You have,
but I have authority.
Yeah. Here's a piece of paper that says that you're biased.
I think, in my infinite wisdom, I have 2 master's degrees that say the English were the bad guys.
Okay. How were the English involved in the conflict?
Well, so you're first of all, you're talking about the 1916 Rising. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So that's when so some Irish revolutionaries took over the GPO, so the post office, the big old post office in the middle of the city, and they took over a bunch of other buildings around the city.
Yeah.
So that they said were strategic sites.
Yes.
They weren't.
Strategic
they were badly
to defend the city, because wasn't there a military boat that came down the river?
Yeah. Look, it was. What's interesting about this is. It's gone down in Irish lore. We love it. It's great. It's a celebration.
We love it.
It started a chain of events that led to Irish independence.
Okay.
So it's hugely significant. It was actually a disaster from start to finish. It was one of the worst organised. It was atrocious. It's called the Easter Rising, and it's called that because it lasted over a long weekend.
Right.
We rebelled against England in 1916. While England were fighting World War One.
Yeah.
So they were in the middle of World War One. So they were fighting the German army.
Starving though, wasn't that the reason why you rose up? Because there wasn't you were starving. Wasn't that the anger? Because people get angry when they get hungry.
I'm furious now. I'm livid. That's because I haven't eaten since breakfast. So that is true. I could kick off any minute.
Would you like a pizza? Hazel's going to make us pizza after. Do you want one?
I mean...
Yeah?
No, because I thought we were going for a curry.
Oh, you can get a curry, but what I'm saying is I'm going to go and get a pizza.
I'll get in on that pizza.
Do you want a pizza?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll just text her. Continue.
Yeah, this is podcast. This is pro podcasting.
It is.
Ordering a pizza with Maddie Shaw. That's your next one. That's all podcasts now, or like videos. It's all carpoolers and, you know, oh look, we're just doing this dead cash thing. You could do getting a pizza with Maddie Shaw. You just shoot the breeze over a pizza. I love it.
No, right, the pizza's been ordered, don't worry. Homemade as well. Yeah, she's going to smash it, hopefully.
Yeah. No, I'm usually confident.
So,
But no, so
England
they had always been talk of this, like way before it actually happened. There was a saying in Ireland amongst like revolutionaries of like, I'll fuck it up now. But it was like Britain's problems, Ireland's opportunity. So there was already a gang. There had already been like people for a long time saying, next time Britain's involved in some major conflict, that's when we're going to go. That's when we're going to kick off.
And when it says "gonna go," does that mean because were there British MPs in power in Ireland? Like how was their control over you established?
So that goes hundreds of years back.
Okay.
Hundreds. Well,
lucky I've got the guy to say.
So that goes 800 years back.
Okay.
Right. So
people in Australia are fascinated.
This is a long story.
Yeah.
Are we starting at 800 years ago? Because Jesus Christ, it all started. Do you know something? We don't like this getting out either. England ruled some parts of Ireland for 800 years because it went over, like they owned parts and then parts of kick off and they lose control and gain control, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But when they first came over and took control initially, they were invited by an Irish guy, because basically an Irish guy was losing a war himself, went over to the English king at the time and went, listen mate, you couldn't come over and back me up. I'll give you my daughter.
Really?
I think he said I'll give you my daughter. I think that was it. Like, you know,
classic Irish. They're always giving away their children.
I tell you what. I haven't seen my mum since I was 2. She bought a pack of potatoes with me and £5. She gave them me first, and they were like, no, not enough. You're not getting any change back for this, dickhead. So England have been in Ireland in some capacity since about 800 years ago.
Okay.
Then in 1801, so we were just like a colony. They just owned us.
Yeah.
We had our own parliament and stuff for a long time, but they just had control.
Okay.
Then
and would they send British people to the Isle of Ireland?
So,
because you know how they sent people to Australia, like a penal colony, was it a similar setup?
No. We weren't.
Can't have the criminals that close.
Yeah, that's the problem. We were irritatingly close anyway.
Yeah.
People kept trying to invade Britain through us. They'd go to Ireland first so they could, rather than have to sail in from the
people, like French and...
Yeah, the French and the Spanish and everything were always trying to come through. We tried to get the French involved in some of our uprisings because we had been kicking off. We used to kick off every so often.
So you were like a misbehaving child that England could never quite get under control.
Yeah, we were always annoyed that they were there.
Okay.
And they used to send people, and like all the landowners and everything were English and stuff. When they really like planted Ireland in like the 1700s. So they just brought in like all these English landowners. So the whole country was like peasant Catholics just working on these like English Protestants' land,
right?
Because they were given them, and they used to live in England, but they just like there was loads of absentee landlords and stuff. And then, so in 1801 there was the Act of Union, and that made Ireland officially part of Great Britain.
Okay.
So it was just like, or the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
So just like Northern Ireland now, but it's the whole country.
So there was no Northern Ireland and Republic
No, that
Ireland.
came.
It was all just one.
Yeah, that came much later.
Okay.
So Ireland was just like Wales and Scotland.
Yep.
We were just part. So Irish. So all the MPs in Ireland could sit on, would just be like MPs in Wales or MPs in Scotland and England, whatever. So they all just sat in the British Parliament. So we were effectively, in the eyes of the English, we were just part of Britain.
Yeah.
And so we used to kick off loads. Well, what was I going with this?
So you went back to 1916, I believe.
So we'd always been kicking off.
Yeah.
And there'd always been some people saying we should kick off when
England's problem, Ireland's opportunity.
Yeah, so as soon as we took over a load of buildings around the city that we thought
were these United Kingdom operated buildings. It was a big issue for you to take over them, or
no? The GPO would have been. I mean, that's I suppose a state, but no, because there was we took over 2 biscuit factories.
Okay.
So we got all the we thought if we can cut off the biscuits, cut off the supply of biscuits, the English will leave. And basically, we're like
what sort of biscuits are they? Like famous Irish biscuits? Or?
Yeah, it was just a big industry at the time, so they were like big. It was just a.
Can you buy these biscuits now? Like
yeah, I can't remember. And there was like there was a mill. There was 2 biscuit factories. They took a thing at like one of the main parks in Ireland, which was actually a complete disaster. Because the thing is, when you like, if you set up a base in a park in a major city. Like, we're going to take over the park. And then what are they going to do? Tell you what they're going to do. They're going to go into the buildings that surround the park, go up to the top floor, and just start shooting the people around.
Into the park.
Just like, yeah.
I've just Googled.
I mean, somebody must have been thinking, what the... Yeah, just Google buildings that...
Well, no, I've just Googled Irish biscuits, okay, and it's come up with the top 10 Irish biscuits revealed. What do you think the number 1 biscuit in Ireland is?
Are they uniquely Irish?
No, not at all.
Probably a chocolate digestive, a nice chocolate digestive.
McVitie's digestive is 4th.
Oh, mate. Did it not even say a chocolate one? Oh, we've chocolate.
It just says McVitie's digestive.
Yeah. It's like people who buy plain hobnobs. I've never understood those people.
Value digestive is 6th.
So it split the vote. It split the digestive vote. So you can't bring brands into it. That's not fair.
Right. What do you think the number 1 is?
God, is it like a rich tea? Something just really boring.
Oh no! I apologise. Milk chocolate digestive is number 1. I'm sorry.
Yes, nailed it. Don't tell me. 2 master's degrees, guys. 2 master's degrees. Don't tell me. I don't know what the best biscuit is.
Digestive is number 6. Tesco's digestive is number 8. Okay, so what do you think number 2 is? Classic.
I don't know. Is it just going to be like it's like a fig roll or something?
No. Not obscure, just classic.
Is it whatchamacallit? Oh, why can't I think of the name of this biscuit now? This is because I'm hungry, and ironically, it's pushed all knowledge of food. What's the name of the biscuit that's a cake? Jaffa cake.
No.
It's Jaffa cake.
It's chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, I should have got that.
Right.
That's mine.
The third one, which is the one that was listed as number 1 on this first page, but when I clicked onto it, it changed it. It was Kit Kat fingers, right? Just 2 Kit Kats there. And I mean,
that's cheating, I think.
That's not uniquely Irish at all.
No. Also, I question its classification as a biscuit. I mean, do you have, like, if you're having...
It wasn't the Kit Kat chocolate bar, it was the ones that come as the...
Yeah, but by halving them, does it become a biscuit?
I don't know.
I call it...
All we know is that Irish people love them.
I'm calling the legitimacy of that poll.
So if I Google Irish biscuit factories 1916...
I think we should have a second vote on whether or not that's the best biscuit.
Jacob's Biscuit Factory.
Yeah, there you go.
Here we go. Biscuit making firm was one of the largest employers in Dublin. Their factory was seized on Easter Monday by 100 members of the Irish Dublin Brigade of Irish Volunteers under Thomas MacDonagh. The factory itself was enormous and formidable, located on the block enclosed by Bishop and Bride and Peter Street, near St Patrick's Cathedral and St Stephen's Green. St Stephen's Green wasn't that the park?
That was the park,
yeah. Right, yeah. So what happened with the boat that came down the middle of the thing and shot people? Didn't they bring a boat down and start just opening fire? Yeah, they did. But actually, I'm not sure.
Something? I'm not even sure.
Oh, really?
I'll tell you what they did do during because that's the Easter Rising, and then that led to the War of Independence.
Okay.
And what they did during the War of Independence, which was like 4 or 5 years later, so
the Easter Rising didn't result in your independence?
No.
What was the result?
2-0 to the English. Lineker and Shearer in the 47th and 26th. No, what happened basically was, because you mentioned as well the jail, so I imagine you're talking about Kilmainham jail. So basically, because what they thought that this would spread across the country. They thought, we'll take these buildings, it'll all spread out, the whole island it'll rally behind us.
Yeah.
Actually, it wasn't popular at all. People just thought, you've wrecked our city. Look, you've kicked off to no avail. The English have come in, bombed a load of buildings that we like. It's annoying. Yeah. But then that was basically it. People shrugged their shoulder and went, well, that was annoying. But then they executed most of the rebels at Kilmainham jail, and people didn't like that. People went, no.
So who executed the rebels? The English?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so James Connolly particularly is one of the most famous one, because he was so badly injured that they had to tie him to a chair to shoot him. So they brought him out, tied him up to this chair.
Oh, no.
And it's a small little, when you see firing squads on TV,
yeah,
you always see them standing 10 yards away,
yeah,
and just firing as if something. They're tiny little spaces usually,
yeah.
So they're actually the guns are right in your face.
Yeah.
So they strapped this guy to the chair, and he had been. He was again very popular.
Is there any chance of you missing? Bullets are expensive. There's no point standing far away.
I mean, that's true. It's not like they're going to reload. Really, it's not like they're not going to reload. I mean,
yeah.
So it's going to be well, you dodged a bullet. Ayo, classic cannon. Oh well, I guess you win.
So was it
Go
a
back
public
about
execution or?
No, they did it in jail, but people didn't. So a few things happened. They executed a lot of the rebels, which was a bad PR decision. They also, as World War I went on, they had brought in conscription to England, but they extended it to Ireland later, and we didn't want fighting World War I. We didn't want a bit of that. A bunch of Irish people went over and fought, but we didn't want conscription.
Right.
So that led in 1918 to Sinn Féin sweeping the board in the general election that year. So everyone the Irish Republic just swept the board with MPs. That kind of led to eventually a guerrilla warfare movement against the English, which we call the War of Independence.
Okay.
But the English didn't recognise it as a war. They just thought this is just a bunch of terrorists kicking off.
Right.
So, if you ever hear the English side of the story, they didn't send in the army, they sent in a police force to kick, which is the RIC. Have you ever heard Irish people talk about the Black and Tans? Have you ever heard that?
Maybe I have, but I can't remember. Yeah. There was a lot of information to take in. This is why I wanted to get the full story from a guy.
So, Black and Tans, they were the nickname of the RIC, which is the Royal Irish Constabulary, which was the English police force at the time.
Right.
And they were called the Black and Tans because of the uniforms that they wore.
Right.
Which is why in Ireland...
Black shirts and tan pants?
No, they were more of a mishmash.
Right.
I think, of just crappy... Because they were all just leftover bits from other uniforms.
Right.
That's true, actually.
They didn't even get their own...
They were we've just fought a war. We've just fought a war, the thing.
Yeah. So they got leftover...
They got leftover uniforms. Oh, we've got to send in this division, but we don't have any shit left. So just give them anything that you have in that storeroom over there. This black pair of pants. And this, yeah, that'll do. Yeah. Who cares? Oh, it clashes. No, it doesn't matter. They're a police force. Doesn't matter. Some of them
doesn't
won't
matter
be
what
happy.
they look like.
Some of them won't be happy. Dave, he's going to be livid. Yeah, he doesn't wear black and navy together. He's not going to like this.
So were they armed, these Black and Tans?
Yeah.
Okay.
But one of the things that the British Army did, which is how I started this, is the Irish killed some of the kind of main head English guys at the time. So the main, I think maybe RIC guys. I'm not even sure. But revenge, so they couldn't get the guys who did it. So what they did was they drove a tank up to Crow Park, which, as you know, because it's where the rugby was yesterday.
Yes.
So they just drove a tank. A lot of people think they drove the tank into the stadium and just started firing into the crowd. The tank never actually went into the stadium, but it did just start firing randomly into the crowd. So it's we can't find the people who did it. Let's just unload on the public.
So why were the people in the stadium? With the football game?
There was I think it was a hurling match was on.
Oh my god.
So it's
and hurling's a great sport.
Hurling's a great sport.
Classically non-violent, really.
Well, it is sticks and people with no Anyway, even if it was violent, are you trying to say that, like, if it was a rugby match, you could understand them, like, firing into the crowd?
If it was a football match.
If it was Aussie rules,
Yeah.
that's a violent game anyway. People have been bringing guns to that for years.
No, they
Bring a
haven't.
tank. You were the one who said, "Oh, it's not even a violent game. How could they fire into the crowd at a non-violent game?"
It was a UFC fight, mate.
Yeah.
So
I think someday Dana White's going to lose his mind and just start firing into it.
how many people passed away? Do you know?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Was it like bad? Was like public like upset? Obviously.
Yeah, they weren't thrilled. But by this stage,
Was their attitude similar to other times where they thought, "Oh, that's annoying"?
no, the public had shifted now.
Okay.
This was because there was enough. Basically, there was a load of. Because people had always been, the majority would have been Republican. The majority would have wanted Irish independence.
Yeah.
But didn't necessarily want to go to war or revolt. You know, people can want... I would say this a lot about Northern Irish people though. You know, if you're a Republican in Northern Ireland, which I'm not from, so I can't really speak for them. But there's a lot of them that would be like, if somebody asked, do you want a united Ireland, what would you say? I'd say yes. Do you want to do anything for that? Oh no, God no.
Right. Okay.
I tell you, yeah. How do you feel about a united Ireland? I'd love it, but what I'm more passionate about is my top 10 biscuits. Digestives would be number one. I tell you what, I'm not having Kit Kat in there. It's a cracking bar, but it's a bar, and lines need to be drawn. Lines need to be drawn. I put Jaffa cake in there, even though it's technically a cake. I know that there was a lawsuit. I know, but that's clearly a biscuit.
Hang on. What was the lawsuit?
Jaffa cakes are officially cakes because tax on cakes versus biscuits are different. So they wanted to be classified as a cake, so they will be put in a different tax category. You might want to Google this. I hope I'm not. I may be making. No, there was definitely a lawsuit. I may be ballsing this up, but the way they justify it.
You tell the bullshit story, and
then
I'll
you'll
get
get
the
the
real
fact.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the story of my life. This is. So they wanted to be classified as a cake, and the way they proved that they were a cake is they baked a cake size Jaffa cake,
okay,
and said that it had all the. And it's something to do with like biscuits go soggy when they're stale, but cakes go hard or something.
Okay.
So they were like, "Look, this is actually a cake that's small."
Okay. This
Right.
The first question was raised in 1991. A tax is charged on chocolate-covered biscuits, but not cakes. Manufacturer McVitie's had always categorised them as cakes to boost their revenue, and tax authorities wanted them to be recategorised as biscuits. A legal case was fought in front of a brilliant adjudicator.
Did you say brilliant adjudicator?
I'm literally reading
I
exactly
mean,
what
he wrote this himself, didn't he? Over a very handsome, well-endowed adjudicator.
This is literally what it says. It says, for McVitie's, this produced a sweet result. Okay. The Jaffa cake has both cake-like qualities and biscuit-like qualities. However, there was an example. They are called Jaffa cakes, not biscuits. Jaffa cakes...
I mean, yeah, but they named us. So you can't be like, well, it's clearly a cake. We've called it a Jaffa cake.
Okay. Right. A Jaffa cake goes stale. When they go stale, they become hard, whereas unlike biscuits, when they go stale, they become soft.
Yeah.
Now, because Jaffa cakes were more biscuit-sized than cake-sized, and cakes are often eaten with a fork, these were like the other arguments that came off. However, they decided to then book a ginormous Jaffa cake, which was 124 centimetres in diameter and weighed 50 kilograms, containing 120 eggs and 30 litres of jelly. That was then called the extra large, lot of X's, proving that it could be a cake. Or you can see all sorts of tiny cakes for sale, some of them much smaller than Jaffa cakes, but there is nothing crazy about a giant biscuit.
Do you think they just fed that to the jury? Just brought in a huge Jaffa cake?
Or biscuit. Find out more. Do you know? Okay, now we're getting into crazy shit. Right, so it does seem as if a lot of pictures of the giant Jaffa cake.
I think I knocked that off the park, though. I think I got that
really
basically right.
Definitely.
That was all.
Definitely.
Even baking the big one.
Yeah. Yeah, and
that's how Irish history ended. It was decided that Jaffa cakes are cakes, and we all lived happily ever after. And that is the story of
I'm glad we
Irish
cleared that up,
history.
because I was fucking worried. Now I did right. Enough of Irish history. Have you had enough now? Have you told me everything you need to tell me? Do you think?
The War of Independence.
Yes.
We were given. It was after that.
How did you win?
1922. They basically said, "Yeah,
You
go
can have
away."
it.
Yeah, but because the majority in the 6 counties of Ulster were still Protestant and Unionist, they wanted to stay, and that's how the partition happened. So they split the country in two. So it was 1922 that Northern Ireland was created.
Right.
It's distinguished from the Republic of Ireland.
And there's been fighting between the Republic and Northern, hasn't there? A little bit, but not really.
Well, not really, but you know, like there's shit. The IRA would have a presence in the Republic and stuff, but we've never had never had a thing.
Right.
But basically, that led to the Irish Civil War. So then the people who were in favour of the treaty fought against the people who were against the treaty, mostly because it split the country in two.
Okay.
They weren't happy about that. So there was a civil war. The pro-treaty side, which was the side that split the country in two and everything, they basically won. And that was how the partition happened, and that's the end.
So do you think...
We're moving on, but I just wanted to finish that because I felt like, you know, something like... If you're going to have a war of independence that immediately is followed by a civil war, you have to say, and then there was a civil war.
Yeah.
It felt like I needed to go. And
do
there was
you
one
think
last
there ever
bit.
will be a united Ireland where you come back together as one?
I think there probably will be in time. I don't necessarily think... People think because of Brexit we're super close to it. I don't necessarily think that's true.
Interesting. Do you think Scotland's going to break away very shortly?
I kind of think that if there was another referendum, Scotland would go, but I don't think there will be one for quite a while.
Why? Who's in control of these referendums?
Well, it's up to the government to call them. And you've got the Conservative government in power now who are dead against Scottish independence.
Yeah.
And here's the thing.
Okay.
Nobody else made this argument, right? Nobody else made it. And do you ever see something that you think is very logical, and like there's all these debates happening and nobody's bringing up your point, and you kind of go, my point must be shit, but nobody's bringing it up because
what's your point? I'll let you know if I see where
the SNP kept saying we'll go in with Labour, but we want Labour to give us a second referendum.
Okay.
And they were like, oh, Corbyn, right? They're not sure, but we're gonna go in. Labour will do it. But Labour were only...
So form a coalition with Labour in Scotland.
We'll form basically a coalition, and then as part of the negotiation, negotiate a second referendum.
Yeah.
But if they had a second referendum and Scotland left, that would bring down the Labour government because they would lose all their SNP MPs that were propping them up to keep them in power.
Yeah.
So they kept going, oh, we'll do this, and then we'll demand when we're in power that they'll give us a referendum. It's like they definitely won't, because that's a referendum on whether or not they get to stay in power. So they're obviously going to go, no, we're not going to let Scotland vote on its own on whether or not we stay in power.
So when did Scotland have their last referendum?
It's like 2014, 15.
So it was a couple of years ago.
It was a few years ago,
and
yeah.
they missed it. They didn't do it.
They didn't do it, yeah.
What?
And it was all like once in a generation, you know, this won't happen again for forever, which is the main justification of not letting them have it. You've just had one. So it was like, I want to say like...
So they just had one and then Brexit happened.
And then so that's the main argument. It's like, you said back... We didn't know that you were about to fuck everything for us. We thought we were part of the United Kingdom in the EU and we were part... And now you have decided that we're fucking off despite the fact that we voted, and if we were independent we would still be in the EU because that's what we voted for. So if we had known then what we know now, give it. And I kind of think, because the SNP, I mean, I don't know, but the SNP are like...
He's talking about the Scottish National Party, for those that don't know.
Yeah, for the Australians amongst us, except those in Perth.
I don't know, yeah. They don't have the internet there. I don't know if this episode's going to get a lot of Australian listeners, I'll be honest.
Yeah. It's going to get one Irish person that's going to go, actually, you totally left out the role that Devil Air played. He didn't even mention Michael Collins. I mean, you call this an Irish history podcast. We didn't call it.
No, it's called the Giggle Gang Podcast.
Yeah.
It literally has the most childish name on Apple Podcasts ever.
Yeah.
Even kids' podcasts sound more grown up than this.
It shouldn't start with, so Kieran, Irish history. What happened there?
Well, we managed to kill about 40 minutes on
Fucking hell.
Irish history.
That is too long. You need to edit the shit out of this. You need to edit that down to, so Kieran, tell me about Irish history. It happened. What's your favourite biscuit? That's what needs to happen. Also, because I know you name these after like whatever was brought up.
Yeah.
It's a bold move to name it after something about biscuits. And then people have to wait 40 minutes of Irish fucking history before they get to whether or not a Kit Kat's a biscuit.
We'll think of a name at the end, don't you worry. I did want to ask you about life as a young Kieran Lawless, because now, I know you as a man, and you seem like you're quite sort of comfortable with who you are. You're quite a funny and charismatic guy. Obviously, you've had your challenges.
It's a lie. It's nice that you say that, but
You're
have
not
to.
a funny and charismatic guy.
Yeah, I'm all right.
But like,
it depends where I am.
What were you like when you were younger? Because I take it, just from knowing you, that you weren't that popular.
I mean, that was a fucking... It wasn't... I mean, you've clearly been reading books on manipulation and like, what you want to do is a compliment sandwich. You, sir, are a charismatic, funny guy. But I don't know why people would like you. I imagine they didn't.
No, it's not that people didn't like you. It's probably that I feel like now I'm asking questions about you that you're almost refusing to answer.
No, I'll answer them
on your behalf. I'm not going to say what I was going to say because I'm going to lead the witness.
You're going to say...
I was going to be making judgments about you.
You're going to say you're short and you're unattractive to women. I imagine
No.
I imagine that didn't win you any friends.
What I was going to say was that someone like yourself, who's quite an intelligent guy, quite funny and charismatic, as I said, probably didn't know quite how to handle himself when he was younger. Didn't know how to harness the powers like you have now. I was kept to yourself a little bit more. No,
I was definitely a loser teenager.
Okay.
Definitely a loser teenager.
I mean, you said it. But
yeah. Oh no. Crazy loser teenager.
What made you a loser though? Like, what were your loser qualities?
See, that's the thing. I just couldn't get girls. But then I decided, But
is that really losing? Because I didn't really get many girls growing up, and I didn't think I was a loser.
Really? No, I put an awful lot of weight on that. And the killer is that it was only because I decided really early on that women didn't like me. And then you kind of... Women don't like that.
Right, women don't like the guy that constantly says, you're not going to like me.
Yeah, so that's the thing. You're just walking around telling people that they don't like you, and eventually that grates on them.
So, can I tell a story? And then I'm going to ask you the exact same question, okay? There's a lovely girl called Saskia, okay? She was... I don't think she was my first kiss, but she was definitely one of the early ones, okay? And we were at a party, right? And she had a friend called Holly, okay? So Saskia and Holly were on the couch, and they were maybe 1 or 2 years younger than me and my friend, okay? That were there. And Holly was really getting along well with my friend, right? My friend Cameron, you might have met him, the Aussie guy that I used to live with, okay? Yes. So they were getting on really, really well, okay? And me and Saskia had sort of just been lumped together on this couch, right? And we're just sort of talking, and she's quite intellectual, and we're enjoying the conversation. And next thing, Holly and Cam start hooking up, like passionately kissing right next to us. And I'm like looking at them, and I'm looking at her, and she goes... Oh, well, are we going to kiss? And I was like, oh, well, I guess. Like, that's what you want, they're doing it. Why don't we? So we start kissing, and obviously, like, I'm not fantastic at kissing, right?
Not like now.
Yeah, not like now, where I'm a fucking expert. But we're kissing, and I'm like, well, this is nice. And then I sort of pull away, and we keep talking, and then she just leans in to kiss me again, so I kiss her again. And then I sort of finish kissing her, I pull back, and I go... Why do you want to kiss me? And she goes, I don't know. Why do you want to kiss me? I was like, because you want to kiss me. That's why I want to kiss you. And it was just this awkward back and forth where I couldn't figure out why she wanted to kiss me. She had no reason. She couldn't provide a reason of why she wanted to kiss me. And then she was like, just kiss me again. So we're just kissing each other and we don't know why we're doing it. These two then go off to a bedroom and have sex, right? And I'm like looking at her and I'm like, are we going to have sex? And she just goes, no, we're not. And then she walked off. And that was the end of it. That was it. No more kissing. No more nothing. I pushed the boat out too far with my awkward line of questioning.
But by the way, you say that like when you were talking about how you asked her, why do you want to kiss me?
Yeah.
And she couldn't provide adequate answers, and you still sound frustrated about that now. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, despite the fact that you're now an engaged man with a wonderful, beautiful girlfriend, if you ever just turn to Hazel after kissing her and go, why did we do that? She's not going to go, well, clearly, I've thought about this. I put in a lot of thought into why I would kiss you.
But at that point, and you might have been the same, maybe with your first or early encounters with girls, but that idea in your head, like, see, I maybe had the whole thing, like, women don't like me, but I never vocalized it. I always had this outward confidence, like, everyone would like me all the time because I'm incredible. But in the back of my head, as soon as it flipped and someone did, I was like, oh, what's wrong with them? Why do they like me? Like, what's going on? You know, the whole dynamic has shifted.
Well, the answer to the question is you're very handsome. That was it. No, because my first kiss. Well, first of all, just going back on why I internalized like the loser thing, and I was thinking about like my first ever kiss.
Yeah.
The first girl I was ever with was at a Valentine's Day disco. Ooh. When I would have been 13, Ooh. But I was born in April, so like it would have been just a couple of months before my 14th birthday.
Yeah.
Now, I only say this to just illustrate how early the idea that if you couldn't get girls in terms of the lads in my school where we were at, just how kind of early you had to be seen to be getting girls,
and did you
or you became a loser.
Did you go to a co-ed school where there was girls and boys at the school?
And I as well. I'll finish it, but and this is true to this day, I get on better with girls. We had quite a mix, because usually you have groups of lads and groups of girls all hanging out together. We were one of the only groups really that I remember that was properly mixed gender.
Right.
And like I had a load of like female friends that were just friends. There was never, maybe occasionally there was moments of like, oh, is something going to happen here? But just to go back to illustrate how early you had to be seen to be getting girls. So my first kiss was when I was 13, which is not an embarrassing age to have your first kiss.
That's very impressive.
Would you agree? You say that's impressive.
Yeah.
Like it's certainly not horrible.
I was not kissing girls at 13.
Well, that was still...
I think I could have been 16, maybe 15 or 16. Definitely.
But
I was never in a case where like it was a big issue. Like no. Like,
I was in a chip shop one lunchtime at school.
Yeah.
Before that had happened. And one of the lads that I was at the counter with, ready to order food, I don't know what the question was. I don't know how the conversation started, because I only remember the bone-crushing, depressing bit of the story, because that's how life is, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
You only remember the bit that makes you still want to kill yourself.
Yeah.
However, it came up about like, oh, who have you been with, or have you been with anyone, or what's your situation with girls? And I just said, and I suppose I did say it in a kind of this isn't a big deal, no problem. Oh, I've never kissed a girl, I've never been with a girl. And this guy, who was another 13-year-old in my class in school, turned to me, no joke, he wasn't picking on me, this was a deadpan serious face. I said, I've never kissed a girl, and he went, how can you live with yourself? So that's the kind, so it was around about that moment.
In a chip shop!
Yeah, just at the counter. I tell you what, Chippadora in Castlebar. It's not there anymore, Chippadora.
Chippadora went down the toilet, just like your hopes and dreams of being a Casanova.
And the thing is, I remember that. I don't remember how the conversation. I just remember his face as he went, how can you live with yourself? And the poor, because...
Did you ask him how many people he had been with? Did the conversation continue?
No, I feel like he had already won. There's no way I was going to ask back and go, no, none. Women are gross. Anyway, let's high five. Be best friends. Never kiss a girl.
They are disgusting.
So Because now I can look back and kind of go, well, that story, because I remember that story, and I can remember the exact date of my first kiss.
Yeah.
Because it was a Valentine's Day disco.
See, I don't even remember my first kiss. I cannot remember. I remember my first kiss that had meaning. That like it was someone who I really
so romantic.
wanted to kiss.
They meant nothing to you before this girl.
Well,
was it Hazel?
No, it wasn't Hazel. But it was a case of I had built it up in my head. I had imagined kissing this girl at this moment, at this time, and then it happened. And I was like, oh my God, like that's what I count as my first kiss. But I definitely kissed people before then, but I just had no idea what I was doing. I'd not planned to. It's just like sitting on the couch with that girl. I just found myself in a situation. I'm like, oh well, now we're kissing. Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. Weird.
I don't know what's going on. In Ireland, we had this. Certainly, there was a lot of this. This is the environment I didn't flourish in.
Yeah.
There was a lot of you wouldn't ask a girl, or I suppose the confident lads would do it themselves, and that's why they were successful.
Yeah.
But there was a very big culture in the Irish teenage disco scene of you wouldn't go up and talk to a girl.
You'd send someone else.
Somebody, well, you wouldn't even. I see. This is the real killer for me.
Yeah.
This is what ruined my life.
Yeah.
I wouldn't send anyone anywhere because I didn't have that much confidence anyway. So you
didn't even have the confidence to have someone else get rejected on your behalf.
But I see, no, it's still personal rejection.
Okay.
But what would actually happen? My first kiss did actually come about through an Irish slang for kissing or snogging or whatever. If my part was shifting, you'd shift somebody.
Shifting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like moving them. You'd
Okay.
shift them. So people would just go up and go, "Oh, do you want to shift my friend?" That was the thing. And that's how my first kiss came about. Is somebody just went up to somebody and went, "Do you want to shift my friend?" And this is how nervous it's like.
So did they then look at you and then look at you, the person that's asking, and say yes or no?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
And
were you all
you know, so
wonder?
weirdly enough, I don't remember what happened when they said yes that much. So I don't remember what.
So most of the time it was a no.
Oh, because the problem is, this is what this is.
See, I never ever did that, but I remember people. I was one of the guys. I wouldn't even go up and ask for a kiss, but I also would never send somebody because I was never really bothered about it. Do you know what I mean? And then it got to the point where I was old enough to be like, all right, do you want to have a kiss? I don't know. Like if someone's laughing and we're having a good time, I'd be like, can I give you a kiss?
Yeah.
You know,
well, even to be honest, even now I'm quite bad at because I'm way more comfortable and confident now, and I'm not shy. It depends on.
That's what I'm saying.
Depends on the situation. But I'm very bad at making moves. Like I'm very bad. I can be talking to girls for ages, but even if they're being fairly you have to be really explicit that you want to be. I have to feel very comfortable because I do still. But I remember once, this is what really destroyed my confidence.
Yeah.
Because dickheads, and I imagine they're doing it to be dickheads, but they pretend like they're trying to help. I remember a guy, a lad I knew, just telling me basically, "Oh, I'll get you a Kieran Lawless," and just kind of grabbing me. And then walking around this disco, just to random girls with me in tow going, "Do you want to shift him? No. Do you want to shift him? No. Do you want to shift him? No. Do you want to shift him? No."
And it was all about his presentation.
Yeah, but the thing is, this was it. And all the lads would have all the cooler lads. They'd have stories about, "Oh yeah, I went up to ask this girl if she wanted to shift Michael, but then I totally shifted her instead." It's like, wow, good for you. And they go, poor man. But the thing is, because you're just
poor Michael.
You're going down a line, it's very rare that a girl would go, no, I don't want to kiss him, and the girl beside her would go, "Well, I think he's a treat."
Yeah.
They tend to have he's being rejected by everyone else, so
a united front.
Yeah, so
sisters are doing it for themselves, as the song suggests.
I don't think people don't want to get with the guy who they've seen being rejected 50 times before they got to you.
So when you said that your first kiss came about by somebody else asking, how did that dynamic go? Was there more of a sales pitch, more than do you want to shift?
Crucially, going back to the fact that I have more female friends, it was a girl who went up and asked. And actually, looking back, and I didn't get many yeses, so there's not a huge pool of like if I'm doing this as statistical analysis, there's not enough pool of yes.
So it's better if you come with a woman's endorsement.
It was actually looking back, it was much better because if it was one of the girls that I was friends with, I think they are actually interested.
Mm-hmm.
So they won't pitch for you, but they will be like, oh, look, my friend is cool. And then there's a bit more of a, oh, well, if he's your friend, that's cool. Whereas if it's one of the dickhead guys,
it's one of the
they're
lads.
almost like rooting for you to fail.
Yeah.
Because they were like, oh, do you want to shove my ugly mate over there?
Yeah.
They're like, well, no. Whereas if it's one of the girls, that can be a bit more like, oh, Kieran's lovely. Oh, he said you were cute, even if I didn't. Or, So I think girls going up and asked. And that was my first kiss, was one of my female friends going up and asking a girl that I think she knew from something else.
Okay.
Going, oh, that's my friend Kieran over there. What do you think? And my only memory was she was way taller than me.
Right.
Way taller than me.
So when you came up to her, did you guys have a bit of chit chat before it started?
No, this was
straight up to kiss.
This was in and out.
Was it literally was it like stepping up to have your turn, like at like a kissing booth, and you just walk up, was there even like a hello or like a handshake?
I really don't remember. I don't think there was. I really think, because I would have been super nervous.
Okay.
So I doubt that
and what was it?
I definitely wouldn't have went up and been like, well, I think we should have a preamble before this.
Yeah.
I know you've agreed, but I think it's best practice that we have a chat. Tell me about your father. I'd have been
Tell me about your father. I would have the mother to get me in the mood.
I mean, I know you've said that to make me sound like the creepier one, but I don't think you've done yourself any favours. You weirdo, Lawless. I totally want to know what their mum did for a living. That's what really fucking gets me going.
Oh, what's that? Your mum's a dentist. Come in. So, how many kisses did you have using that method before you were confident enough to do it on your own? Or have you never been confident enough to do it on your own?
No, I'm basically, teenage disco stopped.
Okay.
So that was the end of that.
How often were you having these discos? Because I swear we didn't have that many discos. Maybe like
we
one
didn't
a
have
year.
that many. But, well, I didn't go to that many. But
But when you did, they were a hoot.
No, they were shiny. I couldn't get any girl. And that's what I put all the weight in. So even if they were nice up to me, you'd still go, oh, I didn't get a girl because I'm stupid and smelling.
Oh my God.
And that's how it was. It was a bit...
That's soul destroying.
Yeah, I put a lot of weight into it, which was stupid.
But was it just you, or did like your parents, or was it your mates that were putting the weight, or was it just you that was putting the weight?
No, I used to wonder how I could live with myself.
Was it all?
No, it was all like... Yeah, I think in my head I thought just everyone was getting off with everyone all the time except me. Like that's what everyone was, just 24/7. If you weren't in class, everyone was just off getting with each other, and that I was just not part of that.
So interesting.
And then, like in reality, you can talk to anyone now about their teenage years and find out that it's all an anxiety-ridden nightmare. Apart from you,
see, I would
fucking smooth criminal.
See, I would have this thing, and I knew other people in my class, and people my year level were getting with each other. But my attitude is because I would see them getting with each other, and it would all be fine and dandy for like 4 weeks, and then they'd have an argument, and then it would all fall out, and then so and so's not speaking to them, and all that jazz. And I was like, this is just shit. This just looks horrible. So I just look at it, and I'd be like, mate, if you'll get with her, it's only going to last a finite amount of time, and then it's going to turn to shit, and I can still be her mate, and I can still be your mate, and I can do whatever I like. You know what I mean? I've got the freedom and flexibility to live my life how I want to live it.
I mean, that's very sweet. It's a very loving.
But it's also a great justification for a fat, ugly teenager that was not really appealing to many girls. It was only really my wit and intellect that was appealing, and obviously you can't really convey that at a disco.
Yeah.
So
I was I used to get shy around girls that I liked anyway. So the thing is that like
I would get like overcompensating. Like I would get the opposite of shy.
Yeah.
I would feign this like extreme confidence.
I have went both directions actually. I have been like, and then it's like that's just too much.
Yeah.
It's just like.
You don't think I can run through this fucking wall? Watch me.
I used to hate the advice, be yourself, but it's such good advice.
Yeah.
Just be if you are kind of generally sound and funny and good company, then don't put on anything other than that.
That's why I think myself and Hazel's relationship, sorry to bring it back here, but it is an example of my most successful relationship to date.
Yeah, but you're engaged, so that would be weird if that wasn't the case. I mean, I'm married to 3 other women, but I'm saying that my engagement to Hazel is actually the best one.
It's been the one where I've been mostly myself. But
I rank her number 5.
Yeah.
Number 1 is the digestive. Number 2 is my relationship with Kit Kats. But Hazel comes in. Then there's 2 other types of digestive and Hazel. I would hope that she's number 1 in the...
But what I was going to say is, when I met her, I didn't want to date her. I didn't want a girlfriend. All right. When I spoke to her, I wasn't speaking to her thinking, "Oh, I want to sleep with this girl. I want to get with her." Yeah. She was just a person in a smoking area at a bar where I was doing comedy. When I spoke to her afterwards, she was like, "Oh, we should catch up." I was like, "Okay." Like, you know, he's like an interesting person to catch up with. At no point was I thinking this is going to lead to a relationship.
Well, see, that's always because you asked a couple of minutes ago when it was like, oh, when did you start going up and chatting to them yourself, or when when did the whole "will you shift my friend" thing stop? The thing is, I'm still. It's very rare, extremely rare, to the point of never
that you'll go
that
up to
I
girls you like.
Go up to a girl to chat her up.
Yeah,
and especially even. Yeah, so it's nearly all mutual friends or like...
Someone who you've just found your way with on a night out. Or...
Yeah, and I've been with like... Yeah. I mean, it doesn't happen very often. Like, it might... I imagine anyone listening to this who's not a comedian might think, oh, comedians, that must be cool. But occasionally I've got chatting to girls at comedy clubs.
Yeah. I met Hazel at Belly Life,
Yeah, so...
She didn't date me for my comedy, though. I bombed. It was terrible.
Wow.
But I bombed because I was talking to her before I went on stage, so I couldn't, think straight. I even said it on stage. I was like, I've just met this lovely lady outside, and I legitimately cannot think straight. And I just put the microphone back in the stand and walked off.
That is that's beautiful.
But it was terrible at the time, and I was, walking off, and I was like, she's never going to want to speak to me. Because I knew she was
met the love of my life, but I'll never get over dying at that gig. Come on.
I've never died since.
It's fine. You'll live. We all die at our arse.
Well, the funniest thing was, so she saw me die there, right? And the next gig I did, because I took her to a couple of gigs where I wasn't performing, the next gig I did was in Hazel Grove in Stockport. So we sat on the bus together. We had a meal together beforehand. We sat on the bus all the way out to Hazel Grove, and I was pumping myself up. I was like... I'm going to kill. I'm going to destroy. Because she's only seen me perform once, the night we met, and I did badly. I got on stage in Hazel Grove, and I did probably the worst gig ever. The biggest reaction from the audience was when a dog walked in.
To be fair, that's always pretty good.
It was fucking terrible. Sorry I've talked for so long. But
it loses its weight if you keep blaming her. Oh, it's because the most beautiful woman in the world.
Yeah.
Like 2 years later, you're still dying on your arse going, it's because the most beautiful woman.
I might use it tonight if the joke doesn't land.
Yeah, Hazel starts going, I'm going to stop coming to your gigs. I'm really hurting your career.
Just stop walking in and being so lovely and beautiful. You hungry?
Yeah, let's get pizza.
Do you want to go eat pizza?
Yeah.
Anything you want to promote? Anyone you want to thank?
I want to thank Matty Shaw, being a great guy who edits out all the Irish history bits out of this podcast.
We'd have to keep going.
Oh, and the girl. Yeah, no, cut it off. Put in whatever you want.
You've given up.
Yeah. I'd like to apologise to the people of Perth, because I'm sure it's actually lovely.
I'm not fucking apologising to Perth at all. Literally, if you are from Perth right now, do everyone a favour.
And go out and party.
Good night.